Hey, thanks for talking today.
Hey, no problem. Oh, my cat's got my microphone.
Hey, Kitty.
Oops. I think I'm gonna have to put him down. He's being kind of antsy here. So yeah, no worries. I mean, it's a like super cold day here, so we're kind of like making soup and then going for like a walk in the frozen woods. And so taking a phone call, not the end of the world to do that for a few minutes. Yeah, what are you guys doing like all the way down there in the Gulf of Mexico?
Oh, we are watching the garlic grow. It's thriving after our brief cold winter here in Texas.
Oh, I love growing garlic. There's nothing better than harvesting and eating the garlic. It's amazing.
This is my first time, so I can't wait to taste garden garlic.
No, that's brilliant. My first time was like we literally just planted garlic that we had bought at the farmer's market. So it was organic and stuff, but we didn't buy like growers. We just threw it in the ground, and then it's so joyful because in the spring it's like the first stuff you see coming up out of the cover. It's awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So well, yeah, you had something on your mind. What are you thinking about?
I think it's time.
Oh, really? The call for proposals time.
Yep, I think we're
Okay.
ready.
You don't think I should like edit it another 7 or 8 times before we send it out?
Or 10 or 12 times. No, I think we should let it go out into the world.
Well, root and twig. This is the big moment. Okay, so like, just as we're setting it up to send it out, like, how are we saying this? What are we trying to say?
Okay, let's see. So I think what we will tell the world is you and I are co-editing a book entitled, at least for now, Gardeners of the Galaxies, How Imaginary Worlds Teach Us to Care for This One, right? It's going to be this peer-reviewed collection of academic chapters examining the ethical turn in science fiction and fantasy, literature and film and other media. Is that right? Did I catch the essence of what we're doing?
Yeah, I think that captures it. And I think like I'm just super intrigued by this like particular moment in speculative fiction, whether that's like like film and serial television or in print. It just seems to be recovering a kind of moral voice, right? The stories are saying something as they're doing something to us. The authors want something, and I just really would love to see what our scholarly friends and new friends are thinking about that kind of thing right now.
Me too. I'm sure there's a lot of really good work being done out there on this topic and could be done. Oh, and here's something unique too that we want to do. I think maybe this was your idea. We both love a beautifully made book, a lovely aesthetic object.
Yeah, I know I know what the wisdom is, but like I totally judge books by their cover.
Me too. So we both want something gorgeous that we can hold in our hands and put on our shelves when it's done. Yes, although there'll be probably an ebook too. So of course we want an unforgettable cover, an original work of art that captures the quintessence, the inscape of the book. And we thought it also nice to have refreshing works of art, poems, short stories, flash fiction, little works, creative nonfiction essays that would be good moments of punctuation or pauses within the volume, dividers between sections where readers can stop and take a breath and meditate on the scholarly content by looking at it through the lens or the eyes of a creative artist.
Yeah, I think that's great. I love this because like instead of just, section two and then title, what we have is like section two title and then something that evokes something that we see like within the because like that's the thing with scholarly work. Sometimes don't we when we're working on literature and film, we sometimes forget that these were stories or that they were beautiful, right? And so recovering a bit of that would be I think uh, I think it's a great goal for us to give that a try.
A
So
theme, an image, something beautiful that the artist presents us. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Let's just see. We'll have to see. How do we want to announce this? How do we invite people into this? Like as we're setting it up, like I think we'll blog about it and that kind of stuff. And I want to include, I think I'd love to. I remember I sent you a screenshot a few days ago, and it was the dark. What was Ursula Le Guin's little book of fiction about her fiction or nonfiction about her fiction, and she has this line: "Ethics flourishes in a time in the timeless soil of fantasy, whereas ideologies wither on the vine." Yeah.
So beautiful. And she's using those earthy images there too, the soil and the vine. Is her perspective a little bit similar to Chesterton's Morifok? He has this idea that you're walking down an ordinary city street and you suddenly see this weird word, morifuck, on a window. And it sounds like a conlang word, right? It sounds like it's coming out of a fantasy world. And so suddenly you see everything differently. You see this glass window into this shop and you think maybe it's a portal. And then you realize it's coffee room, but it's written backwards because you're looking at it from the wrong side of the window. But his idea is that fantasy can suddenly make us see the world differently. Is that kind of...
Oh yeah, no, I think that's great. Actually, the other kind of epigraph to the book is also, something that I think captures that really well. Distancing, Le Guin writes, is the pulling back from reality in order to see it better. And she says it's perhaps the essential gesture of SF. It is by distancing that SF achieves, and then all kinds of things: aesthetic joy, tragic tension, and moral cogency. So like all of those artistic and moral aspects. It's pretty cool.
Really nice list of things she has there. It's the beauty of the art, the aesthetic, but it's the reality, the tragedy, but also this ethical, this moral sense. Another perspective on that is Tolkien's Recovery. Again, it's the idea of a clear view of going into this secondary world so that when we come back, we have a better view of our own. We encounter ordinary things in this secondary world: trees, rocks, bread, wine. And then we come back, and the next time I see a tree here in my world or eat a bit of bread, it's fresh.
Yeah, it's different. It really is different. And I think she read Tolkien on this, I'm pretty sure. But I think Darko Suvin over in like science fiction, like in thinking about science fiction critically, he wrote about cognitive estrangement, how that's essential, doing the same kind of thing. C.S. Lewis talks about this with his other worlds, or his third world. Yeah, it's just there, I think. Yeah.
Have you gone into C.S. Lewis's third world yet? Have you?
Yeah, I keep meaning to. I'm teaching.
You'll get to it.
Yeah, in 2024, I'm teaching a course on Lewis and world building, I hope, and so that's where I hope to have that fleshed out fully. But yeah, not there yet. But I was reading N.K. Jemisin, yeah, and I think like she's got that kind of hard edge, but then vibrancy. Like it's not one thing or the other. And she says, like at the end of one of her pieces, "Come on, like." There's the future over there. Let's all go, right? There is a sense that she's writing not just because she's just an artist that has to, but she's doing something. She's sometimes angry, but she wants something, right? Yeah.
Science fiction writers do this so often. They kind of see the future just a minute before the rest of us. Like they'll write technological and scientific advancements a generation before they happen. Have you read Kim Stanley Robinson?
No, I have. That's Red Mars, right?
Yeah, the Mars trilogy: Red Mars, Green Mars, Blue Mars. You must not mar this natural beauty. There's an unforgettable moment in Red Mars when two scientists are arguing about whether or not to terraform, and each of them gives this gorgeous monologue. One saying, "Do not touch it. It's just so beautiful." And her speech made me weep about the beauty of Mars untouched. And then the second one gives this speech about the human urge to create and change and so forth. And they're both very, very persuasive on which is it? Is nature untouched or the beauty of human creativity in living in our environment?
So they must mar it in the end?
I don't know if they must, but they do. That's what humans do. We have trod and trod and trod, and now nature wears man's smudge and bears man's smell. But do we have to?
Well, I don't know, but that's what I think that's what recovery in Tolkien's sense can help us find out. Like, and that's what I think art does when it's still artistic, but inspires us to something, to change, to think, to draw in. You used Inscape, Hopkins Inscape earlier. Yeah, I think that works there, right? Yeah.
So that's where Tolkien asks, do we walk in legends or on the green earth in the daylight? One of his characters asks that, and Aragorn says, a man may do both. So the green earth is a mighty matter of legend, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, it really kind of cuts between the false separation of things, super well. But how else can it be for human beings? I mean, like we're like, that's who we are. Spencer talks about the man and the poet, right? Chaucer talks about the pilgrims telling a story. The challenge of the Canterbury Tales is to tell those stories, that the pilgrims are spiritually ready, so it has a moral meaning, but also that it's a good story. It's just well done, and Lewis rips that off in his own writing about writing. There's the images that he had, the story that came about, and then as a moral person, he starts to shape that into something.
That's beautiful. Yeah, and you're right. There are so many authors doing that right this minute. Not that they haven't done it all through the history of literature, but there's something particular going on right now. One specific example is Octavia Butler writing right now. She writes about apocalypse, and she has this like localized idea where it's just living in the life of one character. So she manages to start with a moral compulsion, and yet she never compromises the artistic quality. She's a master for generation. Didn't we say in our CFP that there's this recent ethical turn in speculative fiction, fantasy, sci-fi?
I don't know. Maybe we should we edit that out? I don't know.
I don't know. Do you feel it's happening these days?
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely happening these days. I think, like, especially imaginative fiction, I think in literary fiction, there's still a lot of the freedom of the form, in the sense of like not having to say anything. But even then, it often does say something. I think that storytelling and fantasy film, like, I think it's time to change the world again. It's a particularly present moment in any case. Yeah,
I think so too. Whether it's explorations in the nature of time, or whether it's the superhero genre with its moral trajectory. There's that bumper sticker saying that I keep seeing around: there is no planet B. But doesn't science fiction ask, what if there is a planet B?
Yeah, sure. And then when we go to that other planet, when we go to that other world, once again, we come back to see our world anew, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So it's time.
It's time. Okay.
No more niggling on the details.
I know. The call is ready. The CFP is ready. It's ready to go out.
Submission forms are set up.
It's all set up. The tech is in place. You're right. It is time.
Okay. So what's the right metaphor to use for this moment?
Well, science fiction. Are we go for launch?
Open the wardrobe door.
I love opening wardrobe doors. I'm always kind of.
Don't lock them behind yourself.
That's right. And always trying to see if there's a false back on them. Are we ready to head down the rabbit hole?
Climb over the wicket gate.
Yeah, I think it is time to dive, right?
We have planted the seed.